Hello, good morning. Just getting ready for today's live streaming lesson on our Mangotsfield Science YouTube channel. Good morning. Hello, welcome. Mr. Crozier here once again, and getting ready for lesson 8, I believe, today. And yeah, last lesson I managed to open the wrong PowerPoint and I didn't realise straight away, so I got the right one today. We're doing lesson 8 of our Circle of Life topic. So good morning. Hello. We will be getting started with the lesson properly at about 10:15. And in the meantime, I'm going to just run through a recap of the previous topic. So good morning. Hello. Welcome to the live stream. Welcome back. Thank you for joining in. Hope you're having a good day. Hope you've been having a good week. Okay, let's start going through it. Food chains. We talked about the producer. The plant is a producer. It makes its own food by photosynthesis. Then we have the primary consumer and the secondary consumer. I say this at the start of every live stream, and just to go back over the keywords, the arrows show the flow of energy and nutrients. Then in the food web, they're all connected, but again, we've got producers making food by photosynthesis. We have primary consumers, secondary consumers as well. If there's a third one, it's called a tertiary consumer. And yeah, so keywords: producer, primary consumer, secondary consumer, tertiary consumer. Sometimes we put it in a pyramid of numbers, which I've shown you before. And that shows the number of organisms at each level of a food chain. Then we have biomass. Bio means living things, living organisms. Mass is grams, kilograms, tons even. How much of a substance in grams or kilograms? So biomass is the number of grams or kilograms or tons of living organisms. I tell you what, there is a lot of biomass in the garden outside. I'm lucky to have a garden. I'm very lucky to have a garden. Really appreciate that. But I tell you what, the hedge has some biomass on it right now. It needs a trim. Right. And yeah, a pyramid of biomass always has a pyramid shape. There will always be more biomass at the lower levels and then less biomass as it goes up. That's because energy gets lost from the food chain at each stage. Energy moves out into the surroundings because each organism releases some of the energy in the nutrients to do everything that it does. So each stage of a food chain, organisms release the energy from the nutrients, therefore that energy is lost to the surroundings and there's not so many nutrients available to pass up the food chain. So the amount of biomass gets decreased as you move up the levels of a food chain. A pyramid of numbers sometimes has a traditional pyramid shape, sometimes it doesn't. It all depends on the number of organisms at each level. If there's a small number of large organisms, you actually get a narrow part. Let's keep going through some of our other learning. Vertebrate. Hopefully we're really familiar with this now. Mammals, birds, fish, reptiles, amphibians. Invertebrates. Arthropods with legs. If they've got 3 pairs of legs, it's an insect. More than 3 pairs of legs, it's a spider. This is why I normally do antenna, isn't it? Antenna, crustaceans, crabs, lobsters, scorpions, and then we have no legs. I feel like I've said this a lot on the live stream. We should probably move through this and look at the more recent things we've done more recently. A classification key. Classification is when we sort organisms into groups. Classification is the skill of sorting into groups. We can do that for vertebrates based on their features. We can do it for invertebrates based on their features. So a jellyfish, soft body, tentacles. It's got no legs. It has got tentacles. It's got a soft body. It's a cnidarian. A jellyfish is a cnidarian because it's got no legs, tentacles, and a soft body. We looked at adaptations, features which help an animal survive in its habitat. Like a polar bear has small ears to reduce heat loss. A camel has a large surface area to help with heat loss, so it doesn't sweat so much, it doesn't want to lose water through sweating, so it loses heat through its skin, and a large surface area helps with that. Then we looked at plants and how photosynthesis happens in the leaves when carbon dioxide and water react together to make glucose and oxygen. Glucose is the plant's food, sugar. It can also turn it into starch to store it long term. Energy is involved. Energy from sunlight gets trapped in the glucose, and that's where we get our energy from. We get it from the nutrients in our food, like glucose, like carbohydrates. So the producers take the energy from the sun, carbon dioxide and water, and all of that makes glucose and oxygen. The glucose and other nutrients get passed up the food chain, eventually to us. We can then release the energy from nutrients like glucose. So sunlight is not a chemical, so it doesn't appear in the equation, but sometimes we write it over the arrow to show that energy is involved. Okay, so we don't write plus sunlight because it's not a chemical, but we do put sunlight over the arrow to show that the energy from sunlight is needed for photosynthesis to happen. Right, let's have a look. What else did we do? Last lesson, bringing us up to date, we looked at the adaptations of a leaf, the features of a leaf that help plants to survive, which are all about helping it do photosynthesis. Right, so the top layer is like a waxy layer, so the water bounces off and lands on the soil near to the plant. Underneath that are the palisade cells, special photosynthesis cells. They have lots of chloroplasts. Those are the green dots, the place where photosynthesis happens. They have lots of chlorophyll, the green substance which traps sunlight. The fact they are at the top of the leaf helps them to get as much sunlight as possible. The wide, flat shape of a leaf helps the leaf to absorb sunlight. And yeah, lots of chloroplasts. That's the place in a cell where photosynthesis happens. And lots of chlorophyll, the green substance which traps sunlight. Have we got more? The stomata at the bottom, a little hole which can open and close, allows carbon dioxide in. So the carbon dioxide can travel to the cells. The thinness of the leaf helps carbon dioxide get to the cells because there's less distance for it to travel. Also, photosynthesis produces oxygen. The plant needs a little bit of oxygen for itself, but the rest of it goes back out through the stomata into the atmosphere, which is very handy for us because then we can breathe it in. Right, so stomata in the bottom of the leaf allows carbon dioxide in and then allows oxygen out. Right, let's look at today's lesson, lesson 8 of our Circle of Life topic. And here is our driving question and a starter. So I just kind of talked about this, so it's a bit of a memory test. Let's put 2.5 minutes on the clock and we'll pause for a moment and see if you can remember from last lesson and from what I've just said, what are the adaptations of a leaf which makes it good at its job. Its job is to do photosynthesis. What adaptations help it with that? Use the picture to help you. And now we're paused. Chance for me to say hello. Oh, that was a bit loud. Hello. Good morning. Hope you're doing okay. Hope you're having a good day today. This is, I think it might be my 24th live stream today. I feel like I've done a lot of these live streams now. I really hope it's helping. I really hope that it helps you to have a time to sit down and do the lesson, to know that you can email in, say hello, say good morning. I'm sitting here in the laptop in my house, streaming this lesson through the laptop. So yeah, feel free to say hello, say good morning. And if you've got any questions, let me know on your school email account. It's always really good to hear from you, Year 7. Always really good to read your messages. And I hope you're doing okay. Hope you're having a good day today. And yeah, start a question. What adaptations does this leaf have to make it good at its job? If you feel like you're really good at that, have a think about the driving question. Do plants get thirsty? That kind of suggests we're going to be learning about water and what happens to water inside a plant. Water has to go on a bit of a journey in a plant because we said last lesson, water gets absorbed through the roots. But then it has to make its way into the leaf cells, the palisade cells, for photosynthesis to happen. So today's lesson is going to be all about the journey that water takes through a plant. Oh, we've got email coming in. If your name starts with D, thank you very much for your email. It's really nice when people email in and say hello and good morning. I hope you're all well. Smiley face. Thank you. Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm doing okay. and having a good day so far? Yes, I'm having a good day. It's nice to be back on the live stream and feeling like I'm being helpful, hopefully, and giving you this help with the lesson. That's a good thing. It's always a good thing. So thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this really helps you with today's lesson. Right. Okay, now, it's not quite 10:15 yet, so I'm a little bit ahead of myself today. So we'll just talk about this and go through the answers and then start the lesson in a couple of minutes' time. So let's have a look. Adaptations of a plant. Sometimes people are a bit like, some people get really into biology and plants and find it fascinating in its own right. Other people can be a bit like, why do I have to learn so much about plants? Remember, we totally depend on these plants doing photosynthesis. All of the greenery, if we're lucky enough to be able to see greenery nearby, that is so valuable to us because it is producing all of the oxygen we need to breathe, and all of the nutrients in our food chain came from plants. They are the producers. That's why we call them producers. They are the food factories. Whatever we eat either comes from an animal or a plant, and if it came from an animal, that animal ate plants. So it all comes back to the plants producing nutrients and oxygen. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't even be here. So plants are massively, massively important, and that's why we learn about them. Right, so adaptations of a plant. It has a midrib. That is the line down the middle, which helps to keep the shape nice and wide and flat. So it supports the structure of the leaf. Veins. Veins are to do with carrying water through the leaf because water is needed for photosynthesis. The flat wide shape helps it absorb sunlight. The stomata, the holes on the underneath, you probably need a microscope to see them, but they are there, and those little holes let in the carbon dioxide and let out the oxygen. It has palisade cells in the leaf, special photosynthesis cells which have a lot of chloroplasts and a lot of chlorophyll. Always difficult to remember the difference between those two words. Chlorophyll kind of fills up the leaf with green stuff. That's the stuff that traps sunlight. Chloroplast, that's the place where photosynthesis happens. I haven't thought of a good way of like easily remembering that. If you've got one, let me know. Thin. It's thin, so then the carbon dioxide has less distance to travel to get to the photosynthesis cells. Okay, I'm going to take down this 10:15 sign because sometimes I forget. I went through a phase in the middle of our last topic of just never taking that sign down. So I'm trying to remind myself to take down the sign because it's roughly-ish about 10:15. It's probably not exactly that on your computer because I'm on like a minute or two delay. My computer says 10:15, so whatever time it says on yours, that's the slight delay that we're on. But I am here live. Live streaming this lesson, then straight away afterwards live stream to year 9 and year 10, trying to bring this help to you so that you can watch along with the lesson, and I always hope that's going to be a good thing and a helpful thing for you. So please do feel free to email in, ask a question, say hello, say good morning, get a shout out for your house or your mentor group, and I really hope you're having a good day today. We are going to get started with lesson 8 of the Circle of Life with our driving question: do plants get thirsty? I get thirsty during these live streams. I've currently got 3 different drinks lined up on a chair next to me, ready for when I get thirsty from all the talking. But do plants get thirsty? We know they need water. What happens to water on its journey through a plant to do that all-important photosynthesis, which we all depend on and rely on so much? Right, have a look at this. Imagine you get a plant with a stem, and then you cut across the stem, and then you look down into it. So imagine like a thin straw, and you're looking down inside the straw, right? Imagine you take the stem of a plant, you cut through it. I should have gone and got a plant from outside. Never mind. I said that last lesson and I forgot. You get the stem of the plant, you chop through it, and then you have a look down inside. This is what you would see, a cross-section of a plant. And there are 2 parts we're going to look at. Now, the pronunciations are a bit tricky. This is called a xylem. So it's written with an X, but it's a bit like xylophone, xylem, and this is called the phloem. Slightly odd word, the phloem, that's how I say it. Hopefully that's the right pronunciation. Xylem and phloem. And they both have different jobs to do inside the plant. Okay, so we're going to learn today about these 2 different types of tubes and what they do. Now, the xylem which we'll look at in a slightly different picture view in a minute, is a tube which transports water and minerals from the roots to the leaves. Okay, so imagine this as being like an elevator, like a lift inside the plant. So water absorbs in through the roots, then it's like top floor please, ding, and then it goes up the xylem to the leaf. Okay, so imagine it being like a bit of a lift, elevator, the express route straight up to the top of the plant where the leaves are. That's called the xylem. Okay, a tube which carries water and other minerals up, straight up through the stem from the roots to the leaves. Okay, then the phloem does a slightly different job. It transports sugar and other minerals up and down and across the plant because the plant makes food for itself. We are lucky enough to make use of that as well, but the plant makes food for itself. So that food, the glucose and some of the oxygen that the plant needs for itself, need to travel to all parts of the plant. Now, in our bodies, we have our heart pumping blood around our body to carry all the nutrients everywhere where it's needed. A plant doesn't have that. Instead, it has the xylem going straight up from the roots to the leaf carrying the water. Then it has the phloem, which is a network of tubes carrying sugar, minerals, oxygen, whatever the plant needs, up and down, left and right, to all the parts of the plant to where it's needed. Right, why is this needed? Okay. So all of the photosynthesis happens in the leaves, but the nutrients need to get to all parts of the plant, including the roots. The root cells need to stay alive. They need some nutrients. They don't make that for themselves. So actually, for the root cells to have nutrients, the water and carbon dioxide need to react together in the leaves. But then actually, a small amount of those nutrients need to get all the way back down the plant again to the roots, to the stem, so that the plant has the glucose that it needs. Okay, so water needs to be transported by the xylem straight up in the lift, ping, top floor please, right from the roots to the leaf. The xylem takes the water straight up. The phloem carries the sugar, glucose, oxygen, whatever nutrients the plant needs to all the parts of the plant. Okay, we are going to pause for a question. For each point, 1, 2, 3 and 4, is the answer xylem or phloem? See if you can work it out. So, four facts. Does each fact refer to the xylem or the phloem? I really hope that's an acceptable pronunciation. Phloem, phloem, phloem. I will check with Miss Evans. I should have checked with Miss Evans. Miss Evans has put these lessons together, and she is one of our biology experts. We all teach all of the sciences. I'm more of a chemistry expert, but I do teach biology and physics as well. Miss Evans is more of a biology expert, which is one of the reasons why she's putting these lessons together. So I will check with our specialist biology teachers. Make sure, I should have checked before really. Phloem, 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 phloem. Right, anyway, here we go. Number 1. Tube in the plant that transports sugars and other minerals, the phloem. If it travels just upwards to the leaf from the roots, that is the xylem. If it takes just water and minerals straight up the plant, it's the xylem. If it goes up and down and across, it's the phloem. Okay, here we go. Now, let's have a close-up look at the xylem. Oh, before we do that, We've got a shout out coming in. If your name starts with E, well done for joining the live stream this morning. And a really big shout out to Chase House and Chase 7.1 mentor group. So well done for being on the live stream. Well done for joining in this morning. Good morning. Hope you're having a good day today. We are looking at the xylem, the tube which carries water straight up from the roots to the leaves. Okay, so it's called the xylem, and it has a thick wall and then this spiral shape inside it. Okay, now we call these adaptations, features which help it do its job. So there is a substance called lignin. Okay, so the walls are thickened with a substance called lignin, and that strengthens the xylem. It needs to be very strong. It's like a long thin tube going right up inside the stem. It needs to have strength to it to make sure it doesn't bend. Okay, so the lignin strengthens the xylem. Okay, now also there is a gap in the cell wall of the cell which helps it to form a hollow tube. So it needs water needs to basically get sucked up the plant. Water, you'll learn more at GCSE, water evaporates from the top of a plant. It's called transpiration, and that creates a bit of a sort of suction effect of water getting sucked up the plant. Okay, so the xylem needs to have holes in the bottom of its cell wall to help create a hollow tube where water can zoom straight up the plant. Now, the phloem has a different shape to it. Okay, now what that has is it has what are called sieve plates, places where the cells have more holes in, and that can help it to transport the sugar and nutrients through the holes. Okay, now it's got the word cytoplasm here. We labelled that on a diagram of plant cells a couple of lessons ago. You learnt about that earlier in the year. There's a lot of C words in biology. Cytoplasm is the jelly inside a cell. Okay, but in this case it's helping to join different cells together so that the sugar and the minerals can move through the cytoplasm more smoothly through the plant. Okay, so it's got cytoplasm, which is like a jelly substance. The sugar can dissolve through that, and it's got sieve plates which have holes to allow nutrients to pass through. Right, now in order to kind of pump along the nutrients, the plant doesn't have a heart. It doesn't have a heart pumping blood around its body. So instead, something different has to happen. There is something called a companion cell. It's almost like a little sort of battery. It sort of pumps energy in order to push the sugar and the minerals along. Okay, so there's a process you'll learn about in year 8 called respiration, and that happens more than usual in the companion cell to provide some energy to push the sugar along. So there's some complicated adaptations to the xylem and the phloem that we will learn more about at GCSE. Today we really want you to be aware that there are two types of tube inside a plant. The xylem for carrying water straight up, and just to rewind, we said that needs to be strong thick walls, and also it needs to have holes in it to make it a hollow tube for water to travel up. Okay, the xylem, bit more complicated. It also needs some holes for the nutrients to move through. It needs lots of cytoplasm, like a jelly substance, for the nutrients to be dissolved in, and it has these companion cells to provide energy to help push the nutrients along. Right, where are we up to? Okay, hinge question. So lots of complicated information there. Can you pick out the false facts here? So there's a deliberate mistake in this. One of these is false. Can you work out which one it is? So 3 of these contain true facts. Can you find the false one? So 3 true facts about the xylem and the phloem, and 1 false one. Can you find the false one? Can you work out why it's false? What is the deliberate mistake? Okay, let's start having a look at it. Let's go through it one by one. Right, the xylem transports water from the roots up to the leaves. Yes, exactly what it does. The phloem transports sugars in both directions in the plants. Yep, it does. Let's have a look at D. The xylem has no cell wall on the bottom of the cell to make it hollow. True. It also has a substance called lignin to help make it strong. It needs to be strong and hold its shape. C. The phloem has sieve tubes which supply the tube with energy. That is incorrect. So that is the false answer. It is the companion cell that supplies energy. The sieve tubes have holes in to let the nutrients move through. So imagine like a sieve in the kitchen to sieve some things through and hold other things out. A sieve is something with holes in to let things through. Okay, so the phloem does have sieve tubes, but the sieve tubes have holes in to let nutrients through. It is the companion cells that provide the energy to push the nutrients along. Right, so overall, how does water move through a plant? Okay, now, so the phloem it needs energy to help push the sugars and minerals through the plant. So how does water move? Oh, I mentioned this a minute ago with transpiration, so let's go through that now. Water uses something called a continuous transport stream. So this is basically there to provide a bit of suction up the plant so that water can be sucked from the bottom up to the top. A bit like sucking on a straw, sucking all the water up to the top of the plant. So let's have a look at that. Okay, now, one of the reasons that happens is because water evaporates from the top of the plant, and that also helps to create a sort of pressure difference which helps to suck some of the water up. But water molecules also have a stickiness to them. They are slightly sticky, they are slightly attracted to each other. And that means that when water molecules are pulled up the plant, other water molecules are pulled up behind. Okay? And so when water leaves the top of a plant, or when water gets used up for photosynthesis at the top of a plant, then as soon as some water molecules get pulled up the plant, others get pulled up as well. Because water has a slightly sticky quality to it in terms of what that means is an attraction between the molecules of water. Water molecules, water particles, are slightly attracted to each other. So if some of them get pulled up the plant, others will get pulled up as well. And we call that a continuous transport stream. Right, yeah, so continuous transport stream is the way that water gets pulled up the plant from the bottom to the top, and part of it is because water molecules are slightly attracted to each other, so they help to pull each other up the plant. Right, but what is the general What is the general job of the xylem? And what is the general job of the phloem? Can you just remember, what do they do? So we've just looked at quite a lot of complicated information about the adaptations of xylem, the adaptations of lignin, the continuous water stream of slightly sticky water molecules that are attracted to each other, pulling each other up the plant. But on a more basic level, what is the xylem for? What's it there for? What does it do? What is the job of the phloem? What's the point of it? Why is it there? What does it do? Okay, let's remind ourselves. What is the job of the xylem? To transport water and other minerals from the roots straight to the leaves, straight from the bottom to the top, right up the plant. The xylem takes water and minerals from the roots to the leaves. What is the job of the phloem? To transport sugars and other minerals through the plants in both directions so that all the cells can get the sugar and minerals that they need. Oh, it is time for the writing task of this lesson. Right, now we've covered quite a lot of detailed information about how the xylem and the phloem are adapted for their jobs. And then we've got that idea of a continuous transport stream involving the water molecules pulling each other up the plant because their water molecules are slightly attracted to each other. There's some really tricky ideas there. So I'm here on hand, live, in person, right now, ready to explain more if you need it, okay? So I'm here to help. But we're beginning with driving question. Do plants get thirsty? Yeah, because they need the water at the top of the plant. So they need water to get from the roots to the leaves. So we're starting with, what is the job of the xylem? The job of the xylem is to, so we're describing jobs. Orange means describe, green means explain. Why do nutrients need to be transported around a plant? Okay, so explain that main idea. Then we've got the features of the xylem. Can you remember some details about how it does its job? And the adaptations of the phloem. What features does it have to help it do its job? Then we've got our extension here to combine in the idea of water molecules and attraction between molecules to help explain how water moves up through the xylem. How does it get pulled up the xylem in a continuous transport stream? And we're combining in the idea of water being made of molecules and the molecules being slightly attracted to each other. So there we go, that's the work for today. A really important part of the learning to have a good go at writing science for yourself in your own words. So if you're writing in a book or a Word document, this is where you write in full sentences to lay out your work. And I am here ready, waiting to help re-explain it, say anything more that you need me to say so that you can do a good job of your writing. And then in about 13 minutes time, we will talk through the answers, and that's your chance to check if you got it right. But it's really, really important to try and write as much as you can for yourself based on what you've learned so far this morning. Write it in your own words, explain your ideas, use your understanding to explain how the xylem and phloem do its job. So yellow means using understanding to explain a situation. So this situation is how do the xylem and phloem do its job. But we're starting off with describing their jobs. What do they do? What are they there for in a plant? Why does a plant have a xylem and a phloem? What are their jobs? And then we'll go from there. Please do feel free to email in, say hello, let me know how you're doing. If you get stuck, tell me. I'll say it again. It seems very quiet in my house. My daughter has her school has managed to find a place for her in a bubble as a key worker child, so that I can do extra live streaming, because I'm live streaming to year 9 and year 10 now as well as year 7, which I couldn't really do when I had Emily with me. Doing one live stream, she was okay with that, she could cope with that. Doing 2 in a row to multiple year groups, she needs me to look after her a bit more than that. So she's gone to school as a key worker child so that I can do more live streaming. I'm also trying to help the year 9s and 10s through Google Classroom as well. You might have older siblings who are looking at that for some of their subjects. And yeah, and now it seems very, very quiet. I'm literally sat here on my own at the laptop. My daughter's not running around in the background making noise. So I'm fully able to concentrate on your lesson. So if there's anything I can do to help, please let me know. And If there's any clues I can give, any hints, please let me know. And yeah, it's normally about this time that I start realizing I really need to give some really important messages of just hopefully encouragement and well done and just thanks and appreciation for all the work that you have done, not just today, but in all the lessons of this topic and the previous topic. This is the 20th science live streaming lesson for year 7. 20 lessons you have done. That's awesome. You've done so well. You've put in so much work, so much effort, and the amount of stuff that you learn in 20 lessons, building up those notes one after another, writing your laying out your work like this, hopefully it's helping you learn loads. You will have learned loads, and you put so much effort in. You've done so much work, not just for science, but for all your other subjects. So a massive well done from me to you, to all of you, for everything you are continuing to do. It's so hard to keep going week after week. It's been such a long time, and I just really appreciate how well you've done to stay motivated, to keep yourself going, to keep doing your science work. Wow, year 7, well done you, and we'll keep it going. This is lesson 8 of the topic, so that means there's 9, 10, 11, 12, 4 more after this, leading us up to the end of term. And just well done for keeping going, and well done for doing your work. You're doing a fantastic job. Let me know what I can do to help. Oh, thank you. I've got a really nice message coming in. If your name starts with C, thank you so much for your message, for me being a supportive teacher during this time, and I've helped you and you appreciate it. That's so nice. That's made my day. Thank you so much. That's really nice to hear. Thank you very much. Well done to you for all of the work that you've done. I see certain names come up time and again. I'm not allowed to say names on the live stream for good reasons, but I see certain names come up time and again of people who always tune in and always send me a message, and I appreciate it so much. Well done for joining in with so many of the live streams and for doing so much work over the past however many weeks it's been. And you are all year 7, you're all doing a fantastic job. Big well done from me and the rest of the science team. I do talk to them about it, and we do have meetings, and we all want to give you the best lessons that we can to help you, and we're all really proud of you for all of the efforts that you are continuing to put in, keeping yourself going. Just a massive well done from us to you. So we've got describing the job of the xylem and the phloem. And then we've got explaining an important idea. Why do nutrients need to be transported around a plant? So you might be thinking along the lines of, well, the nutrients are needed in all parts of the plant. So we have a heart and blood vessels, arteries, veins to help us get all of our nutrients around our body. A plant doesn't have that. So instead it has a xylem taking water straight up from the leaves to the roots for photosynthesis. That's really important. So water needs to be transported up a plant because it's needed for photosynthesis. But as well as that, the sugar, the glucose that is made by photosynthesis needs to travel to other parts of the plant because all parts of the plant need sugar and other nutrients. So we have in our bodies a heart and blood to pump and carry all of the nutrients around our body. Plants don't have that. Instead, they have xylem carrying water straight from the bottom to the top, from the roots to the leaves. For photosynthesis, it all revolves around photosynthesis in a plant. Because photosynthesis happens in the leaves, the glucose, oxygen, any of the nutrients needs to move all the way through the plant. And that's what the phloem is there to help with. So nutrients need to be transported around a plant because water needs to get from the roots to the leaves for photosynthesis, and because sugar and other nutrients are needed in all parts of the plant, so they need to be carried around the plant. Then we've got using our understanding to explain a science situation in more detail. So how do these features help the water and nutrients get around to the plant? Well, the xylem is adapted for its job because it needs to be strong. So it's got a strong chemical in it called lignin to help to keep its shape, because it needs to keep its shape strong to help support the plant and also to make sure it doesn't bend too much, because otherwise the water won't go up the plant. It also has holes in the bottom of its cells, in its cell walls, to help turn it into a hollow tube. So the xylem needs to be a strong hollow tube, a bit like a straw, so water can go straight up. So it's got a strong chemical called lignin to help it keep its shape, and it's got holes in its cell wall to turn it into a hollow tube. And that helps the leaves get the water that they need. So looking at our driving question, do plants get thirsty? Well, yes, because they need water in their leaves for photosynthesis. The xylem carries the water from the roots to the leaves, and it needs to be a strong, straight tube which is hollow. So it has a strong chemical called lignin to help keep its strength, and it also has holes in its cell wall to make it a hollow tube. The phloem, how are they adapted? Well, its job is to carry nutrients across and through the plant, and up and down as well. So it has sieve holes to allow nutrients through. It has cytoplasm, a jelly which dissolves the nutrients, and it has companion cells to provide an extra boost of energy to help move the nutrients through. So the xylem needs to be a long, straight, hollow tube, so it has a strong chemical to keep its strength called lignin, and it has holes in the bottom of its cell wall to turn it into a hollow tube. The phloem has sieve holes. Sieve is spelled S-I-E-V-E, sieve holes to allow nutrients through, cytoplasm, the jelly stuff in a cell to help dissolve the nutrients, and companion cells to provide a boost of energy to push the nutrients along. Then blue always means combining a difficult idea. Now in chemistry you learnt about water being made of water molecules, tiny particles made of H2O, 2 hydrogens, 1 oxygen. So every water particle is actually a molecule of H2O. Now those molecules are slightly attracted to each other. The hydrogen in one molecule is slightly attracted to the oxygen in another molecule. Now because water molecules are slightly attracted to each other, when some water gets pulled up the plant, it helps to pull other water molecules up as well. Water evaporates from the top of a plant, and that helps to suck some of the water up, and then the attraction between water molecules helps more water to get pulled up, and that creates what we call a continuous transport stream. The movement of water, continuous movement of water up the plant. It's like the plant is continuously sucking on a straw all of the time. Continuous all of the continuous all of the time, water being moved up the plant through this sort of suction effect, partly caused by water evaporating from the top of the plant and partly caused by water molecules being attracted to each other and helping to pull each other up the plant. Right, well, it is time to start having a look at the answers. This is where you can check what you've written against what Miss Evans and I have written. And yeah, please do, if you've got something wrong, please do change it so that it's correct in your writing. And if there's something you didn't think of, you can write it in now. Here we go. Do plants get thirsty? Describe the job of the xylem and the phloem. The job of the xylem is to transport water and minerals from the roots to the rest of the plant, particularly the leaves, because that is where water is needed for photosynthesis. The job of the phloem is to move sugars and minerals up and down the plant. It then moves out of the phloem and into some little side tubes to get across the plant. Again, we've got a whole topic on plants at GCSE where we go into more detail about xylem and phloem and stomata and other aspects of how plants work. Please do remember, why do we learn about plants? Because we get all of our nutrients and therefore all of our energy originally comes from plants. If it wasn't for plants doing photosynthesis, we'd have no oxygen to breathe, no food to eat. We wouldn't be able to live without plants. So plants are massively important to us. Photosynthesis is massively important to us, and that's why we learn about it. Why do nutrients need to be transported in a plant? Because they are needed in other parts of the plant where they are not able to be made. So the roots can't do photosynthesis, but they still need some glucose to give them energy. Plants keep some of their glucose for themselves to give them energy. All parts of the plant need that. So the nutrients, like glucose, need to be moved to all parts of the plant. And also to get water up to the leaves for photosynthesis. That is also really important. Right, how are they adapted for their jobs? The xylem is adapted because they lose the cell wall at the bottom of the cell to form a hollow tube. They also have lignin, there's the spell in there, which strengthens the cell and helps support and strengthen the plant. Plants don't have a skeleton like us, so the only thing keeping their shape strong is the cell walls, which are made of cellulose, and the xylem helps to have that strong hollow tube inside the stem, helps to keep its shape. The phloem are adapted for its job because they have sieve tubes, which have little holes in, and that helps to connect the cytoplasm jelly between the cells so the nutrients can dissolve in the cytoplasm, then move through the sieve tubes and to be able to move through the phloem. So the phloem really helps to carry it up and down the plant, but there's also little side tubes that stick out to help it move across the plant. Companion cells are attached to the sieve tubes to provide the energy needed to push the nutrients along. Then, water moves in a continuous transport stream. So water molecules in the leaves help to pull up water molecules within the xylem. Okay, so when water gets used up in the leaf and when it sometimes escapes the leaf through transpiration, then some of the water molecules at the top of the leaf help to pull water molecules up from lower down the leaf. They do this because water molecules have a slightly sticky quality. They are attracted to each other. So plants have a continuous transport stream to help the water move right up to the top of the plant. Okay, today I have achieved describe, because I can describe the job of xylem and phloem. Today I achieved explain, because I can explain why nutrients need to be transported in a plant. Today I achieved use, because I can explain how xylem and phloem are adapted for their jobs, what features they have to make them good at their jobs. And I can explain why water moves through xylem in a continuous transport stream, combining in the idea of water molecules. Okay, right, please remember there is also a 10-question Show My Homework quiz for Lesson 8 set by Miss Evans. So please do remember to go back to Show My Homework and do that quiz. And a massive well done to you for your work today. Right, I just need to sort something out. I'll be back in a moment. helps if I turn the microphone on. Well done for your work today. Okay, and I was just going to say, I forgot to say that the next live stream is next Tuesday, 10 a.m. We've got 2 more weeks of lessons to do. Next week is lessons 9 and 10 of this topic. And so, yeah, Tuesday at 10 a.m. will be the next live stream. And I'm going to be live streaming to year 9 and year 10 at the same time. They're doing the same topic as each other. And so if you're in year 9 and year 10 and you are clicking on the YouTube channel to see what if it's time yet, that will be starting at 11 o'clock. So I will be ending the stream and starting a new one for year 9 and year 10 at 11 o'clock. So any year 9s and year 10s, if you're on here now, you might have to refresh the page in order to see that. And yeah, just before I finally go properly, there's just somebody at the door. I just run down and see it was a postman with the delivery. But anyway, well done. Well done for your work today. Well done for keeping up with your science. I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great weekend. And please do, hopefully, come back here again on Tuesday for lesson 10. Please do remember the Show My Homework quizzes. That's really helpful to us to see how people are getting on and how everybody's doing with their understanding of the quiz questions. And yeah, just a massive well done from me and from Miss Evans, who's helping to put these lessons together, for all of the work that you're doing, for all of the effort that you're putting in. Whatever your level of achievement, please do feel proud of yourself for the effort you put in. Please do show somebody at home what you've done, show them your writing or your Word document or whatever you've made, and then hopefully, well, I'm sure they will be really proud of you as well for keeping your education going in difficult circumstances, which we're all facing, having to stay home. So, thank you, Year 7. Well done. I'm going to go for real now. I didn't want to just leave abruptly. I ran down to the door, came back again, because I just wanted to make sure that I said, well done. Great work today. Next live stream, Tuesday, 11 a.m. That's it from me today. I'm going for real now. So have a great day. Have a great weekend. And we'll be back on Tuesday. 10 a.m. on Tuesday for the next lesson of this topic. Bye-bye.